and tricks that can help you tell your company's stories better to drive business results. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, live streamed on major social media channels, and part of the DB&A television network, available on most U.S. television sets and streaming on Roku and Amazon Fire. Here's Christoph with today's episode. Let's go.
Let's go, business storytellers. Hey, how's everyone doing? Fist bump. Let's get today's episode going. And we want to talk about how do we build community. And first of all, what does that even mean? I know people are throwing these terms around. This is community, that's community. And you know what one of my pet peeves is? When people say building community is only their customers. And here's, like you can become a member of my community if you buy from me, you give me your money, and I call you a community member. I don't think that's what community is, but I could be wrong. We'll see what today's guest says. Diana Richardson, she works over at SEMRush, which you guys want to check out. I've been on their chat before, and I can tell you, their Twitter chat, and they have community on there. It's like, good luck trying to keep up. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is trying to talk to you. Everybody is saying things. It is like a community, so to speak. So let's get her out of the green room here and find out, what does she even mean by building community? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just saying crazy things as usual, but we'll see. We'll give her the chance to respond here. Diana, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Fist bump, right? That's how you do it. And you know how to do it. Awesome. So, hey, we connected on Twitter a long, long time ago, and you said something smart, and this is the key for me to want people on my show. You say something smart, I ask you. Don't send me a long pitch email. I find you if I want to talk to you. So, Diana, I found you. Tell us about building community on social media. What does it mean? How do we do it?
It comes down to building relationships. And you said it too. It does not just have to be your customers. It can be people in your niche. It can be colleagues. It can be other influencers, other people who have really smart things to say. It absolutely does not just have to be customers. And you can have different layers of community. So, for example, SEMRush does have a Facebook group for our paid users. But we have, as you mentioned, too, the Twitter chat, which I am the host of. And lots of other ways to generate conversation. And the point of having a community on social media is to generate conversation and build those relationships. And, it's very much like going to those in-person, old-fashioned networking events and making connections that way. But social media has brought us global. It's brought everyone global. So you get a lot more exposure and a lot more connection opportunities by using social media for that network.
Well, what's interesting to me is it's different, right? Because back in the day, I would go to networking event, when I still wore ties and real pants. I am wearing pants, everybody, but I haven't worn jeans. Don't ask. I haven't worn jeans in forever. Forget about dress pants, sweatpants all the way here. But back in the day, I wore, a suit. You go to an event and you network by running into people and saying, "Oh, hello, I'm Christoph," and whatever. What do you do? Who are you? But it was very like one by one, right?
Yep.
Like luck of the draw. Maybe you cared about what you do, maybe you don't. But on social media, it's like on steroids, right? It's like what I did back then on steroids, I guess.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that way because, the people that you would meet, and I still love in-person networking events. I really miss them. I can't wait for those to really get back into full swing, like conferences, and we're kind of slowly getting them back there. But with social media and building the communities there, you get to have that back and forth with people. You get to connect directly with people who you already have something in common with and get to have that conversation and learn from each other and talk shop with each other. And, as opposed to, like you said, like luck of the draw at a networking event where maybe you're somehow kind of connected, like social media has brought us this global network of people that already have something in common with us. And whether that community is, related to your business, your brand, or personal interests, it's all there. You can just do a search and find people that are like you, that have stuff in common with you. And
Yeah.
it's really cool.
It is, and it's also it's different on social media, right? Because if I go to an in-person event, and here's the thing, I don't mind traveling. I actually like traveling every once in
I
a
know,
while,
I
but
miss it.
I also have started enjoying just being here, right? Enjoying the moment and whatnot. But so I'll go back to events at some point. But on social media, if I go to an event and I'm
Mhm.
just standing in the corner, which I wouldn't do. I always need something to do, but so I wouldn't do that anyways. But if I did, right, that would be really weird. People would be like, "What is the dude doing in the corner?" Whatever. Talk to some people. On social media, you can just kind of hang out and like your chat, you can just read the chat, be part of the community, and nobody will ever go, "Oh, that's weird." Like, well, first of all, people wouldn't know, but you still can feel like you're part of the community. So there is a level of just listening in, right? Taking it all in, or is that not part of being a community member?
Well, the thing with social media though is if you're just listening and just you're reading through the conversations, you aren't really engaging. So you're
Mhm.
learning, which is great, but you're not engaging. And really being a part of a community, and someone like me being who is a community manager, we seek out that engagement. So, if building a community on social media is a priority for you or something you're wanting to try out for your business or your brand, just know that being engaged and being a Christoph and always wanting something to do is kind of part of the deal. And so it's okay every once in a while to sit back and listen, especially if it's, like a Twitter chat and you're not an expert in the subject that the chat is about, totally fine. Chime in next week, because being a part of that community is being active, just like in your own neighborhood. Meet your neighbors. Don't just like stare at them through the window, which is kind of what I'm doing right now because I look at my neighbor's house through my window, but I know them too. So, being active person, making those personal connections brings that to the next level as opposed to being just the passive onlooker.
So to get the most out of it, participate and
Mhm.
share your insights and whatever.
Ask
Don't go down.
questions.
And
Yeah, that's how you're gonna
ask
get the most out
questions.
of it, is ask questions, join in the conversation. Don't be scared of saying the wrong thing. You're never gonna learn well, you're gonna learn if you can observe, but it's important to be an active part of that community because you're gonna get out of it what you put into it.
It's true, but there's also the digital mob rabbit hole. Do you know what I mean? You say something. I mean, I love your comment about don't worry about saying the wrong thing or whatever it was, and I believe it. But on social media, sometimes some people just beat you up. I mean, you say X, and they go, but YZ is so much better, whatever. Like it's just like mind numbing, annoying when that happens, right? So
Yep.
how do you combine that, or is it just um, take it with give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess. Don't think they're trying to be rude, even though it certainly read like they were.
No, so I actually just had an experience like this. I just got a new vehicle and I had a question about the vehicle. Sorry, a plane is just going over my house. But I had a question, a very specific question about my vehicle. So I posted it in a Facebook group specific to this vehicle. And I got a lot of really great comments back. And then this one person said, well, first contact the dealership and tell them you need an owner's manual. Then step 2, read your owner's manual. And I responded, why answer the question that way? Obviously, the vehicle's brand new. Clearly, I have an owner's manual. I hope that you think I'm smart enough to start there, but I wasn't like, I was sitting in an appointment. Like, I wasn't studying my owner's manual. I had a question. I wanted to ask it in the moment. So I reached out to the community. And this guy, yeah, was super snarky back. And but I responded to him the way I just said. And I got so much more support again from the community saying she's right, you don't need to be snarky, we're here to like support each other, it's okay, the question isn't dumb, and so even when the snarky people kind of come in, you get that back support from the rest of the community. Now, as a community manager, if I see that happening in any of my SEMRush communities, I support the person. So when you're the moderator to some degree, you want people to feel like they can have free speech and they can be themselves, but you want a community to be supportive and be helpful and be useful to people. And so if that negativity starts to creep in and it's regular, then you manager need to step in, kind of guide people back to like the helpful place, and keep that community a productive one. So you you have to include that as part of your role. But as a person contributing to community, sometimes you just got to put your snarky pants on yourself and comment back.
Snarky pants, as long as they're comfortable and don't fit as tightly as jeans, I'll put them on
I was
any
going to say
time of the
snarky
day.
pants are like a level up from sweatpants, so.
Yeah, awesome. So put them on when you need to. Now, and I don't have any problems doing that. And I actually don't understand why some people feel the need. I mean, so on one side, this is the journalist in me. I can sometimes feel why not, no offense to your exact example, but people say, what color is the sky or whatever, some stupid thing like that. It's like, just Google it or look outside. You don't need to bother everybody in here with that question.
Yep.
So I kind of get it sometimes, right? But on the other hand, like if you're just going to tell people to go somewhere else, like just keep scrolling, like don't respond, don't waste.
If you don't have a helpful answer, there's no need to respond. And, I had clearly had a very specific question. I was obviously not sitting in my new vehicle studying. I mean, you guys know how owner's manuals are very intricate and are kind of difficult to find things. Clearly, I could have Googled it, but I sought out, I know. I think sometimes SEOs should write like owner's manuals so we can get a little bit more optimization in there, make the UX of an owner's manual a little bit more simple. But clearly I could have Googled it. Clearly I could, but I sought out personal connections, some personal answers from a community who I already have something in common with, who have already been there, who I know are also exploring new features in their new vehicles. So that's who I wanted the answers from. And I think we as human beings seek out answers from other people who are in a similar place as us. So that's a very human thing to do. And hopefully your community can do that. And yeah, if you're going to have the the negative Nancy's in the group, it's going to come with the territory. You just have to learn how to mitigate it and how to work with them. We have a really great team member here at SEMRush who is amazing at nipping kind of those comments in the bud. And so he's always on got his guard up when we start to see those kinds of comments rolling in, but he's really great at just like being nice about it.
So you mentioned, so of course we got different types of communities, right? We have people that are connected with here, let's say on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, Facebook. We've had a whole show or maybe a couple shows on Facebook groups, and Eddie Garrison was on the show talking about it, and he kind of convinced me that Facebook groups have their place, and actually I know they have their place. But for me personally, pretty much every Facebook group I've ever joined, it's just I end up leaving it just because there's too much. I don't want to say crap, but there's just too much people saying stuff like it's not relevant. Like I'll give you an example. There was I'm in the Canva group, right? I love Canva. It's fantastic to create things and super easy. I'm not a designer, but I can create videos. I can do whatever, super easy. And like I'm in this Canva group and somebody says, please teach me how to use Canva. Like how are you going to answer that? Do you know what I mean? And if you have 10 of them, you can't, right? Like, no, if somebody says, how do I animate my copy? How do I animate my headline on my image?
Right.
Very specific, right? I could say, here's how I do it. Here's how I determine what to do, blah, 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 what the timing is. You can answer that. But somebody saying, show me how to use Canva. What a waste of everybody's time, right?
I disagree with that, actually.
You can just jump in. You disagree? Go ahead.
I do disagree. So if maybe I'm like a freelance graphic designer or my business specializes in animation and I have a course on how to use Canva, which is a very common thing you could find on Udemy or things like that. I would be social listening to conversations in that regard, so I can answer those questions and point them to the direction of my course or my checklist or whatever helpful resource I have created. to help that person and learn that. I would absolutely do that if that was my business.
So that's kind of an interesting thing too, right? What lens do you look at it? So for example, if I don't think I'm in any content marketing group right now. Maybe I don't know. But let's say I am. And somebody says, tell me how to tell better stories or whatever. And I mean, I could say, right, this is kind of the blinders I had on, not trying to talk myself out of it here, but I'm just saying that's kind of how do I answer that question in one comment? I can't. But I could say, go to my blog, lots of resources on there or whatever, if the group allows that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've had cases where you link somewhere and the group would say, you can't link anywhere because man, that's against the rules, even though it totally applies
No
to what you're saying.
self-promotion.
No self-promotion, but you're just answering the question, right, that they're asking. So it's kind of interesting. I guess it is about the mindset too, right? How quickly do you get annoyed by certain things? And I always find when you have things over and over and over, it's like, this is not a business group, but, New York Rangers, I'm in some of their groups, and people post the name of a player when they do something good in a game. I'm like, how does that add? I mean, maybe that is building the community, but how does that add to the experience right now, I guess?
Well, I mean, it's going to be different for everyone. The person who's posting the player's name is obviously looking for people who also are fans of that person and looking for that engagement. You don't give a crap, and that's totally fine. So that post isn't for you. So as someone contributing to the community, you're going to use it for different things. But that's where I think the purpose of a Facebook group is much more beneficial when it's specific. So, like the Facebook group I'm part of for my new vehicle, very specific. The Facebook group that SEMRush has, very specific. I'm not a part of too many generically SEO Facebook groups because the content is all over the place and I can't be as helpful as I would like to, and things like that. So I'm part of like Facebook groups that are about eating Whole30, again, very specific as opposed to just recipe Facebook group where it's very, very broad. So if you're thinking about starting to build a community for your brand or your business, find it, like kind of niche it down even more than just like what your business is about. So let's say you are an HVAC company and you want to try community building. Instead of making like ask us all the questions you want about home services, maybe niche it down to specifically something like renters repairs, do DIY renters repairs when you're not even the homeowner. And then that way your Facebook group can be very specific and it can kind of in and of itself avoid those broader questions. And it might be a smaller group and that's okay because the engagement is much, much higher. And the conversation is going to be much, much more productive. So think about that when you're trying to have a community, just like in the world of SEO, you don't try to optimize for like the broadest, grandest keyword out there because it's not going to target the right traffic. So community building is the exact same way. Like you want to bring in the right conversation to make it productive and useful and not necessarily have the entire world as part of your community. So the philosophy is pretty much the same.
And that is actually really good advice because and maybe I think when you think about my complaints stated earlier and not just here, but also on other social channels over the years, probably that is because it's a really, really wide topic, right? When I join a group like Canva, it's like everything for Canva. I mean, it's anything from the people who just signed up today to the people who've used it for a long time and create awesome
people looking
animations.
for tech support. Like I could see people asking like, I can't log into my Canva account. And like, that's not what the community is there for. So yeah, it's very broad. I think I'm actually in the Canva Facebook group as well, but it's a very broad topic. And so if you were Canva, you might want to have multiple Facebook groups about like Canva, how to use Canva 101. That's what I would do. Then like advanced use of animation. Like you as a business can have multiple Facebook groups to kind of figure out where the conversations are happening at different parts of your funnel or for your different audiences. So, for us, for SEMRush, we have a lot of different people in our audience, from people learning SEO on their own to agencies to, the Aledas of the world who are like these majorly experienced experts, really, and we have to figure out where those conversations are happening and how to be helpful in different spaces. So the same conversations are not happening in our Twitter chat that's happening in our Facebook group that's happening on LinkedIn. So and that's another great thing about social media too, is that it's so flexible and you can accommodate the different conversations and the different people in these different spaces and just be active all the time. And it's just really full of energy and just like this people together. I don't know. I love it.
I think that might be the best advice I've heard in a while on this topic is, you have to niche it down. What's the specifics? And I think so thinking back, I'm still the top level on American Airlines, even though I haven't flown very much, but they keep extending it for different reasons and whatever. And I used to be in a group with those frequent flyers, and there was a lot of nitty gritty detail being shared on how do you do this and and it was super, super niche, like stuff I would care about. But if you don't fly American or you're not that top status level, you could care less because you can't do that anyways, right? So it's
Right.
super, super. And so then I didn't like the group when it started going much wider, because then all this COVID crap happened and it started moving into politics. How do you feel about masks? I hate masks. I love my ass. I'm whatever. And it wasn't as specific, because if I wanted to argue over masks, which I don't, wear your mask if you are not vaccinated.
Shoot, that's
The
what's
end.
gonna
It's
go
my show.
next.
I'm sticking to it. But that is too broad, right? I can have
Yes.
that debate in a bunch of places, but I can't have the debate on how do I upgrade my seat using miles only flying from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Honolulu or whatever, right?
Right.
Like very, very eye-opening. All right. So where do I even start building my community? I know you guys have a Facebook group, you got a fantastic Twitter community. How do I prioritize? I can't do everything at once.
So to start, you need to test. Honestly, SEMRush, the community has been around much here, but we didn't just like end up all over the place and have it be successful. We tested, we tried things out, and we continually work on it as time goes on and as people evolve too. So keep in mind, you're connecting with people, human beings on the other side of the computer, and their needs and their questions are going to evolve. And as new social media platforms like TikTok or Clubhouse, something like that, then it's worth a try. I would say if you're going to start a community, prioritize testing. I would test, and you can just test each channel one at a time. This doesn't have to be an overnight thing. I would say like focus on one channel at a time and test it for 30 days. Test it with different types of content. And by that, I mean, are you posting quizzes? Are you posting videos? Are you posting questions? Are you posting your blog content? Like rotate and try out your different types of content on one platform to see what is successful. And then next month, try all of that on a different platform. And eventually, as you're in, you'll have to follow up, because you'll want to see what's getting the reactions and what's starting the conversation and what's getting you noticed and what's helping to bring in more people into your community. And by that, I don't necessarily mean growing followers. I mean people contributing to your conversation, because follower growth is great, but it's a vanity number. Just like website traffic, it's kind of a vanity number. Yes, it's nice to grow numerically, but it doesn't matter if no one's doing anything. So you want to watch your growth as far as engagement and people reacting to your posts, commenting on them, resharing them. Those are really important metrics to keep in mind. But just give yourself one task at a time. There's so much going on. And then if you own like your own business and you have like 3 employees, then like it's really hard to prioritize your time. So I get it. I worked with small businesses most of my career, so I totally understand. But yeah, just tackle one at a time. And then as you post and test and you're watching your metrics, do it again. And then, just kind of keep trying, and then you'll find that you'll fall into your own rhythm. Now, depending on your industry, of course, you're probably going to find that you're going to have different types of on different platforms. So maybe you do really well with humor and memes or something on Twitter, but your community on LinkedIn really loves your checklists and they really love your seasonal reminders or something like that. But that's where you need to test and monitor, because you're going to find that you'll probably have success on multiple platforms. It's just going to depend on the content. And then you can shape your content strategy, meaning what you're creating and what you're sharing around the previous successes that you've tried. But do yourself a favor, test one channel at a time. And I would maybe give that to yourself as the goal for like the next 2 quarters. So 2 quarters is going to be 6 months, right? And so over 6 months, you could try maybe focus on 3 different platforms, and you could try them twice out by the middle of 2022. Again, this does not have to happen overnight. It's very similar to SEO. It's a slow process if you really want to find success in it. I will tell you this. If you post it, they will not come. You need to actively engage, actively share. Just because it's on the interwebs doesn't mean people are going to see it. So just, do yourself a favor and focus on one at a time and be engaged and present on that platform on a regular basis, even if you just dedicate 30 minutes a day.
And also really understand what's the context, I guess, of your industry, right? I mean, I just saw the SEO report. It was not recently, but it was maybe a few months ago from Brian Dean talking about how few visits the average B2B blog post actually gets from SEO, right?
Yes.
So if you're at 100 some views for SEO for an article, like you're rocking it, right? But of course, we think it needs to be much higher.
Right. And I think that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Like, it isn't necessarily about all the traffic, it's about the right traffic. So if you have 100 people visiting your blog post and I don't know, 20% of those convert, I mean, that's a lot of visitors, a lot of really well-targeted visitors, and with only a 20% conversion rate, which, I mean, doesn't, like, of course you want like 50%, but that's silly. So, I mean, keep everything in context and don't necessarily compare yourself to your competitors. The goal with social media community building is that personal relationship and that engagement. And whether that is 6 people or 600 people, that's irrelevant. It's the relationship and the connection and their engagement together. So even like remove yourself even, and they're relating to each other. That's what I love about our Twitter chat is like everyone, like I have to do very little community management on our Twitter chat because everyone just talks to each other. What a concept, And so it kind of, I help the conversation and I learn along with it. I love it. And I love doing it, but it's really cool when I see everyone talking to each other and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to watch.
Right.
So then
that sounds great, Dana. They are now blowing the leaves out here and we're out of time anyways. I appreciate you sharing these tips. Everyone, build your community the right way and, be human. Remember the human on the other end of the line as well. Really appreciate you making the time. Thanks for sharing your insights.
Sure.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review our show on your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to share this episode with your networks. We appreciate you. Until next time.